Hi, you're watching Car Extras, and this episode is dedicated to the best small electric cars available in 2022. And don't forget, if you like what you see, subscribe for more reviews. It only takes a second. The second generation Niro EV is so new that many owners have yet to take delivery. And while we agree that it's a bigger car than other choices here, it still checks in at under 4.5 metres in length. What's more, many of our other picks are more suited to 2 rather than 4 passengers, so consider this one for families and an update to what was already a class leader. Featuring Kia's trademark tiger nose grille, we like the looks of the Niro EV, with the exception of the coloured C-pillar which, thankfully, can be deleted so that it matches the main body colour of the vehicle. With a 64.8 kWh lithium-ion battery and a range that pretty much beats anything else on the market, Kia has long since shrugged off its reputation for cheap, albeit worthy vehicles, and the Hyundai Kia group remains ahead of its Japanese competition in the EV stakes. Fit and finish and the materials used are a big step up compared to the previous Niro, and although Kia has opted for capacitive buttons on its climate control, some physical buttons remain. Our other selections, aside from the Kia Soul and Hyundai Kona, are more suited to driver and passenger only, although the Corsa-e and Peugeot E208 also do a fair job with rear accommodation. As well as a decent sized frunk, just like the Hyundai Ioniq 5, the Niro EV has an adapter that allows owners to charge other electrical devices, including other EVs. In summary, the new Niro EV raises the bar for a small family SUV EV and gets a big thumbs up from us. Honda's lovable E is the Apple iPhone of the electric car world. More expensive than the competition, but with a design that's Honda's best effort since the spaceship Honda Civic of 2006, it wowed the motoring press and public alike when first unveiled. However, there are 3 main problems with the E. First is usable range. Although Honda only ever intended the E as a city car, its usable range of 120 miles is bettered by the larger capacity Fiat 500 electric. Taking into account that its price is on the par with the entry-level Volkswgen ID.3, which has a far bigger battery, Honda's sales for the vehicle have proved to be disappointing. If Honda could improve its range and cut its purchase price, it would have a winner on its hands. But alas, despite its unique dashboard layout with multiple infotainment screens, camera-driven mirrors and excellent driving habits, this is a niche product for the company. If you have the means and treat the E as a second car for the city only, it makes perfect sense, and that's why it's still a top pick. However, as well as a poor usable range, rear passenger space is also compromised and boot space is disappointing. Despite all of this, we still love the E, but you'll need deep pockets to even consider Honda's small electric marvel. The ID.3 was a hugely important car for Volkswagen when launched in 2020. Tempting buyers out of their Golfs into the ID.3 was a major challenge, and one that, in nearly every respect, Volkswagen has done brilliantly. Good looking, but by no means flashy, the signature looks of the ID.3 have also laid the groundwork for the company's latest vehicles too, including the ID. Buzz. As a 5-door, 5-seat hatchback, the ID.3 excels at being compact in the city for parking, but has room enough for family trips further afield. When released, its biggest criticism concerned its infotainment system, which, like the latest Golf, does away with the need for most physical buttons. Lagginess was the main sore point, along with the need to dive down into menus to change some common settings. Although still not our favourite system, over-the-air updates have improved things for ID owners of late. Otherwise, it's all pretty conventional, which is perhaps the biggest compliment that can be paid to the ID.3. The cockpit layout, driving position, and major controls are flawless, while touches such as the play and pause accelerator and brake pedals prove that Wolfsburg has a sense of humour. Like many manufacturers, semiconductor shortages have affected trim levels and equipment currently offered by Volkswagen, but the mid-spec 58 kWh equipped model would be our ID.3 of choice. All in all, a good value, stylish and easy to live with EV, which, refreshingly, doesn't feature an extensive options list currently. Although not as much fun through corners as a Mini Electric or Peugeot E208, the Corsa-e is definitely the dark horse in this lineup. With a more than adequate 50 kWh battery, the Corsa-e centres on offering great value for money, even if, looks-wise, it can't hold a candle to its PSA company E208 stablemate. Learning to toggle between eco, normal and sport modes affects the amount of brake horsepower available on tap, and thereby range, with the eco option being the one to eke out every mile from its 200-mile usable range. In terms of driving habits, the Corsa-e has more roll through corners than the petrol version of the same car, although in normal and sport modes, it makes for a nippy companion around town. Wearing a sensible hat, the Corsa-e provides better accommodation and range than the Mini Electric, and all for a far lower entry price, so don't rule out this offering from Vauxhall Opel. It's a sensible EV choice. Up against the Mini Electric and Honda E, Fiat's new 500 Electric is arguably the most well-rounded of the three. There are two main versions that either equip the 500 with a 24 kWh battery, or, and this is the one we'd go for, a larger 42 kWh version. This gives the Fiat 500 Electric more versatility than its Japanese and German competition, with a highly usable WLTP range of 199 miles or 320 kilometers. Available as a normal hatchback, a convertible, and a 3+1 version, meaning that it incorporates a suicide door on the passenger side, the convertible has arguably the best headroom in the back for adults, while access to rear seats is best with the 3+1 version. All in all, we think the 500 Electric should be towards the top of your shopping list, especially where you need a city car for one or two occupants and have less need for luggage or ferrying passengers. In terms of value for money, it's also a better option than the Honda E, and we'd also take the 500, with a bigger battery that is, over the Mini Electric. With a third more range than the battery pack it replaces, Renault's Mark II Zoe is developed in all the right ways from the original car it replaces. Cleverly named as an abbreviation of the term zero emissions, the original Zoe, which first appeared in 2012, was always an EV worthy of consideration. However, despite its pioneering approach, a sizable price coupled with a low-rent interior and brittle plastics made it a difficult sell for some potential buyers. This time round, a large portrait touchscreen and altogether more agreeable interior make the Zoe a much more enticing proposition. Although not as peppy as a Honda E, its far better range and decent suspension soak up potholes and undulations well. It's by no means the last word in handling, but fun can be had zipping around town in a vehicle which, although not as chic as the Fiat 500 electric, does have its own likeable personality. The Clio-derived interior is a major step up, and with an improved driving position, many owners will enjoy using this as a city vehicle. With a decent-sized boot too, the Zoe is let down only by its poor rear accommodation, so it's best for households where only 1 to 2 people will use the vehicle at any one time. We're tempted to let the music do the work for us with this one. Like its petrol predecessors, the Mini Electric is as fun to drive as ever. Perhaps the ownership experience out of warranty will be better too, as there are less oily bits to go wrong. Thankfully, the engineers at BMW haven't seen fit to dial back on the fun, so you'll still get the modern classic looks of an aspirational marque that's adored by so many. Inside, the uncompromising and unique interior is just as funky as ever, while ride is a bit more jiggly and unsettled than the petrol version. In the UK it's the Mini Electric, whilst in other markets it gets a John Cooper moniker. Range is the only sore point in this package, and BMW argue, perhaps rightly, that loading it up with a bigger battery would have made it just flabby and taken away all of the fun. Instead, we see the Mini Electric as a sprightly, engaging second car that you'll tear around town in. As such, it's a compelling proposition, and we like it. With a launch dating back to 2018, it's a measure of how good the Kona Electric is and how deeply Hyundai invested into EVs that the vehicle remained competitive even before its recent refresh. The closed-off front end now looks far sharper, although we're still not fans of the rear end treatment. That said, it's far from boring to look at, and with a choice of 2 competitively sized battery packs, the Kona Electric makes a lot of sense on paper. Its SUV styling is on point too, and it charges from 0 to 100 km an hour in under 8 seconds. With a usable range that beats most competitors, what's not to like? Well, its handling and ride aren't the best in class, and its dashboard is made up of lower quality plastics too. But other than that, it runs a close second to the ID.3. With a superior warranty though, this is a head over heart purchase that you won't regret. Vauxhall Opel's bold approach to its first baby SUV EV has paid dividends. We think this is a sharp looking vehicle, even if the showcase green metallic colour is not to everyone's taste. With a front end visor design that harks back to Vauxhall's glory days, the company has also been adventurous on the inside with a driver focused layout that works well. Around town and on motorways, the Mokka-e has a comfortable ride that's well judged, although the trade-off is that its handling is only average when pushed hard. Modulation of the brakes is also sometimes hard to judge, but otherwise there's much to like here. Its Its chunky good looks are a bonus, and, although generally well finished, some interior trim lets the side down. In all, the Mokka-e has to work hard to rise above middle of the pack status. But it's a good effort from Vauxhall Opel that should result in the Mokka-e finding plenty of homes. Closely related to the Vauxhall Corsa-e, if our top pick was based on looks alone, the Peugeot E208 would be up there with the Honda E and Fiat 500 electric. Unlike those competitors, the Peugeot doesn't sit on a dedicated EV platform, but its ride is superior to that of both the Zoe and Mini Electric. The E208 also does a great job of keeping noise out of the cabin at higher speeds, with good levels of refinement. For us, Peugeot's iCockpit digital instruments, where you peer over the steering wheel to see them, is the car's one major failing. From day one we've questioned this approach, although many owners seem to have no issues with it. Otherwise, the interior is a masterclass on how to make a mass-produced hatch feel special. Legroom and boot space are also both reasonable. So if you're hunting for a vehicle of this size, we'd test drive the Corsa-e along with this model. Although the Dacia Spring hasn't been confirmed yet for UK sale, it stands here as being the cheapest full BEV from our top picks. With origins based on the Indian market Renault Kwid and also the Dongfeng Fangshen EX1, the no-fill Spring has a top speed of 125 km per hour and a leisurely 0 to 60 time of 19.1 seconds. So long as you consider the city its main habitat, the Dacia Spring is a relative bargain. Take the Dacia Spring for a long highway ride, however, and you'll have to endure multiple recharge stops, especially if you keep the right pedal constantly floored. The one caveat in recommending this otherwise sensible choice is its 1-star Euro NCAP rating. Dacia's business model has long been to offer safe cars without all of what it sees as being bells and whistles safety features. Even with a beefed up safety structure to satisfy European requirements, we recommend you check out its crash test video and written report before making a decision. Otherwise, it's a dinky-sized, attractive and fit-for-purpose EV Super Mini that's great for those on the budget. Although not getting into our top 10, honourable mentions also go to the Mazda MX-30, which is hampered by its poor rear access and accommodation, coupled with a measly usable range. It's among the best to drive, however, and we think it looks great. Last, but by no means least, the slightly forgotten Kia Soul EV is a cheaper, but equally usable alternative to Kia's new e-Niro. Sharing many of the same design traits, its overall shape is characterful but somewhat of an acquired taste. Only let down perhaps by an interior which looks like a generation off its latest stablemates. The Soul EV is still worthy of consideration, however. So do you agree with our choices? Let us know in the comments below and don't forget to subscribe. We'd really appreciate it, and thanks for watching.